Coming up next on Insights on PBS Hawaii, are we doing right by Hawaii's veterans? Aloha and welcome to Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Malia Mattoch, your host for tonight's show. Throughout the country, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has had trouble keeping up with claims from its veterans as they return to civilian life. Depending on their service, Hawaii's 117,000 veterans may be qualified for services including health care through VA hospitals and clinics, assistance with education and housing, disability compensation, and pensions. What has changed since a 2014 audit of the VA ranked our state last in providing first-time access to doctors? Tonight, are we doing right by Hawaii's veterans? We invite you to join tonight's conversation by calling 973-1000 if you live on Oahu, or 800-238-4847 if you're calling from a neighbor island. If you have a smartphone, tablet, or computer, you can watch Insights streamed live at pbshawaii.org. Just click on the Insights logo, or you can find us on Twitter at PBS Hawaii. Please use the PBS Insights hashtag to be sure we see your tweet. Now to our panel. Ronald Hahn has served as director of the State Office of Veteran Services since November 2011. Colonel Hahn retired from the United States Air Force in July of the same year. Clay Park, a retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant, is the former director of Papaola Lokahi's Native Hawaiian Veterans Project and serves on the State Advisory Board for Veterans Affairs. Savina Hughes Thomas is a 26-year U.S. Air Force veteran and a National Service Officer for Disabled American Veterans, a nonprofit agency that helps veterans access their benefits. Leeanne Santos Egan is a veterans counselor at Leeward Community College. She helps veteran students make the transition from active duty service to civilian education. Insights invited the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to have a representative on the panel, but they declined. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us.
So let's start with, as we mentioned a year ago, a pretty devastating audit of where Hawaii fell in terms of providing service to our veterans. Where are we now? Mr. Hahn.
You know, Malia, I think the VA has come a long way. That audit reflected 145 days for new accessions receiving appointments with their care providers and just trying to get an appointment, you know. And so I know some of the stats Mr. Wayne Pfeffer and his team have been really working hard at getting it down under 30 days. And some of the metrics that they've shared with us in open forums through town hall meetings and other forums have shown that they have done that. We know there's a lot more to be done, but they are headed in the right direction. We see a lot more things happening on the claim side, where they've reduced under 2 years, almost just a few over a year and a half now. And benefit side, this is on the benefit side, they're also making drastic improvements. So we do see a drastic change. There is a shift in the right direction. We just need more momentum to build with that.
Ms. Thomas, are you seeing the same thing? And if so, what do you think has caused sort of this shift in the right direction?
As he stated, on the benefit side of the house, they've employed more people. Mm-hmm. That's a step in the right direction. And the claim processing time has been cut dramatically. So they're getting claims out of the doors, getting people compensated much quicker. The VA has instituted a lot of new programs to get the veterans and their families compensated much quicker, and yeah, it's great. It's great.
What about things you'd still like to see improved? Where do we go from here? Obviously, it's still not ideal. Your thoughts, Mr. Park?
You know, one of the things that happened in these past few years that they opened up a new CVOC out in the Leeward side, and I go out there now, so that's a really a positive, you know, for the VA at this point, and I think they've come a long way, and there's still a lot of work to be done, but you know, seeing as though they're going from point A to point B, they're doing a lot. So
one issue appears to be that the neighbor islands continues to struggle in gaps of service. What do you think is causing that? Is it a matter of geography? Is it a matter of just simply not enough providers? Any thoughts?
I think travel is a problem because there's community outpatient clinics on the neighbor islands, but the specialty clinics, they have to fly to Honolulu to get to specialty clinics and to see a special physician. So the travel is a problem. To fly the veteran over, and some of the veterans, they can't fly by themselves, so you need to have the spouse come over with them too. So it's the cost to bring them over.
And laborious. Ms. Egan, what do you hear from students?
We're not having nearly as many problems, which is wonderful. A lot of the students that we see are exiting the military and then joining all of us for school. And so the great thing is, instead of waiting like 2 months to get the funding, the housing benefits, when they start using the GI Bill, it's been reduced down to about a month, which has been just a great blessing for a lot of them.
A huge difference.
It's been a huge difference.
What are veterans supposed to live on while they're waiting for their pensions, while they're waiting for these to benefits to kick in? I mean, do people sort of fall into sort of a desperate category while they wait?
I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all. Each of the veterans have a unique requirement when they come. They see Savina or Clay or Leeanne, and you triage the requirements that they may need. Some require jobs. Some just need to tap into education post 9/11, GI Bill. Some just require someone to navigate them. Savina or Clay or Leeanne are good at navigating them through some of all the amazing amount of process issues that are dealing with it. And I think the VA is one of the things they're trying to do is to reduce some of that structure. There's just so many filters that you have to go through to get a claim in the system. Now they're doing electronic claims. Savina kind of mentioned a little bit about that. Now we're reaching out with Leeanne with the resource centers, and Clay's doing a lot of outreach to remote areas, which is always a challenge with rural areas, because that's why you have some of the gaps. You just don't have people in the rural requirements there, so they have to go and they have to travel, and if it's not available there, then they got to come to Tripler to get the VA at the regional hospital there. So
there's been an increase in staffing, which you referred to, has led to some of this improvement. On a percentage basis, how much more staff do you think is still needed to clear out these backlogs entirely? Any estimate of how much more is needed, or do you think it's at the right number now?
I'm not sure about that, because you can get a whole bunch of staff, but then you don't have the offices to put them in. Now you got a problem. So no matter how much FTEs you got to hire people, if you don't have an office, where are you going to put them? I think that's an issue as well. And we focus on a lot of the Afghanistan and Iraqi veterans coming back. But what about the Vietnam veterans and the Korean War veterans and the World War II veterans? I mean, these are the guys that, when I see these guys, they don't have their DD-214s. So how do they get that? So you need to submit the standard form 180, request for those records. And these guys are not looking for monies, they're looking for recognition.
So there's still people whose service was almost 50 years ago that still aren't getting what they need.
Absolutely.
So what's the answer there? What needs to be done for them?
For me, when I go out there and I talk to like the Korean War veterans, and a lot of them, when we put in the standard form 180 to request for their records, they get a letter back saying that the records got burned. And it's no fault of theirs. So how do you process these people? If, I processed one guy with a meal card. All he had was a meal card, but it showed that he was in the military. So I think we need to do more outreach and reach out to these guys.
Let's get to a couple questions. Can you explain what the Veteran Resource Center is? I'd like to take that.
Oh, okay, that's probably me. So the Veterans Resource Center, so what's happening is in the mainland, in a lot of the colleges, there's these Veterans Resource Centers that they create in the colleges to help guide people through using their benefits, not just using it, but applying for it, and then how do they submit it to get it certified so they can get their monies paid. And normally we're talking about the post-9/11 GI Bill, which is the most using right now because of the downsizing and all the soldiers coming out. So what's happened in the UH system is we've actually created these Veterans Resource Centers. So right now, there's one that's fully existing in Leeward, Leeward Community College. We've been in existence now for about a year and a half. And then Maui at the same time it's created theirs at this, for about a year and a half as well. And so what we do is we help, again, help the students apply for their benefits, and then we also help them apply for school. We help them also register through the process and then wait till they get their monies. We've also created like resources like a lending library so they can use textbooks so they wait for their funding to come in. So it's just a resource center that, exists. There is one other resource center on our island. It's an HPU. They also have one functioning as well. So there is an initiative going forward in the UH system that there's supposed to be resource centers that exist on all of our colleges.
And so that's the goal.
Yes, yes.
Is this something that would have helped you when you came out of service? Is this?
Yes.
Can you explain?
Yes, thank you. I used the Montgomery GI Bill. So I actually went to UH Manoa and just very lost in the system, didn't know what to do. The only thing that really existed was this thing called our certifying officials, which every school has because they need to get their, that's how we get our benefits done. We have to get it certified, and that's how the VA knows we're going to school. And so unfortunately, there wasn't someone to really guide us through the process, And the wonderful thing is now we've all figured out there's so many more soldiers coming in that are becoming, transitioning out from the military, now going into school.
Which is great.
Right. So what we do is we created these checklists. So now almost all of our UH systems over here have checklists where our soldiers just follow the checklist. This is what you do. You apply for your benefits, and then you get all your clearances done, then start registering for your classes, and then you wait. You get your textbooks, you wait, and then you start going to school, and then money starts coming your way so that you get, you're able to go to school. And hopefully, the wonderful part really is when the soldiers come in, there's a high graduation rate, because they rely on the funds and they're ready to transition into the workforce.
Take it very seriously, the opportunity very seriously. You're all veterans. Does anyone else have any experiences to share in terms of some of the frustrations and challenges when you come out of service? Did anyone else have those kind of stories to tell?
Savina's smiling, so I anticipated this.
It is challenging when you transition. I served, over 20 years, so that's a challenge in itself when you're so regimented in being in the military, and then you have to transition out into the civilian world. So that takes a bit getting used to. And then because you go from being, sergeant major or senior master sergeant or colonel to, who are you? Savina or what's your husband's? Because I'm a woman in the military. So, we have unique circumstances, and we're a bit different, and people, they look at me and they don't see a military vet, so that takes you back a bit, right? So it's a bit different transitioning. It's difficult. We have certain unique medical needs, different from men, different from soldiers. And sometimes it's not offered, at the VHA, at the VA hospital. You don't know, where to turn. Sometimes, you don't know how to navigate. Your ID card is different, so you get treated differently. It brings about a bunch of different feelings. You kind of, in my case, I felt kind of disrespected. You're still a mother, you're still a wife, you're still a person, but it's a whole different world on this side of the uniform, when you take the uniform off.
I can add to your thought.
Yeah.
One of the struggles that a lot of our soldiers coming out right now have is that they can't figure out what they want to do because their skills are not necessarily transferable in the workforce. So trying to figure out what to do is a real struggle for them. So we have these job prep centers which help them. Even the VA has a system where they take these assessment tests to help them figure out what should I be doing and then what degree should I go into. And I think that seems to be the larger struggle too, to add to what Savina Savina's thoughts are, is because they, you know, again, it's not transferable. And one of the things the UH system is doing to add to that is they're creating this thing called these PLAs, or prior learning assessments. So they're trying to see if the kind of experience that they had in the military, they can kind of get credit or test out of it. So it's equivalent to some of the credits or classes in the university.
And feel like people recognize that you bring skills to the table.
Right.
Which is an important feeling to have. This is a question from, I believe it's Leeanne. How does the panel feel about the Republican proposal for Congress to privatize the VA? Your thoughts?
That's pretty interesting, you know, dynamic. I know there's a lot of, I think the VA is the largest healthcare, I think, in the world, not just in the nation. So, you know, just so many things. There's 22 million veterans right now in the United States. Only about 9 million, I think, are taking advantage of healthcare or registered in the VA. So.
Do you think that number is somewhat reflective of the frustrations of some of those barriers that were being referred to earlier? It can be so frustrating to get yourself.
I think, like Savina was nice enough to talk about, and by the way, she's doing a great job helping veterans. We've worked collaboratively on a couple of really big issues, and she's just been wonderful to get out there. Her passion for helping others now is very evident. And so this next reiteration now, looking at where they're going to take health care, we want the very, very, very best for our veterans and their eligible family members. You know, we don't want to see them have something that is less than what the best has to offer, because they gave their very best. They sacrificed all that they could to provide. And a lot of the service-connected injuries that they receive were as a result of the mission that they're on, the service. So.
Would any of you be open to it being privatized, or do you all feel that would be a bad idea? Any thoughts on that?
I think that would be a bad idea. For me, it would be a bad idea because the services I'm getting from the VA is excellent. The only problem that we had looking at is to get to those services.
Access.
But we've got access.
And why is that so hard? I mean, it feels like there have been years of sort of bad news stories about the VA. Of all the federal agencies, it seems to be one that's continuously mired in this. Is it a systemic problem? Is it just the numbers are overwhelming? What do you think, if you had to pinpoint a reason?
I think there's the numbers.
It's the sheer numbers.
It's the numbers, yeah. I need to go back to her question, because one of the things that she talked about is that they have to wait. What is the wait time?
Well, it used to be about 2 months. Now it's about a month.
This is for school, for courses.
Right.
Yes.
Well, not for courses. It's to get their monies.
To get the
their
funding
housing
for the.
funding. Right.
So that wait is.
Yeah, so if you look, they have to wait a month, so how do they survive for that month? That's, you know.
And what's the answer to that?
Sometimes what a lot of students do is they'll get assistance from like the U.S. vets, you know, and they're able to be sheltered there for a short amount of time, you know, temporarily. Once the money starts coming in, it's very good, because we have a good cost of living, high amount that's actually being given here monthly.
Yeah.
Very generous.
Does the state have to step in where the VA, you know, in areas the VA is not?
We provide on every island, with the exception of Lokahi and Leeward, where we do outreach with them, satellite benefits counselors out there. And we do have an obligation, like our veteran service organizations and providers, to do a fully developed claim, so that when it goes through the adjudication process, you know, the VA has all the things that they need: the evidence of the case, the medical documentation, the eligibility requirements. Anything we can do to make it easier for them, it'll help in the long run, you know. And so education through what Leeanne is doing through the resource centers, you know, we sit on this task force with President Lassner, and he's embraced the fact that, you know, these campuses need to have these resource centers. That's a bold statement, you know. The fact that the faculty may be having orientation sessions to learn about the veterans' plight. One of the things that Clay mentioned about, and I think Savina and Leeanne brought it up, a lot of the veterans are leaving the military because of drawdown in Iraq and lately Afghanistan. But also their claims are different. When Clay was a Vietnam veteran, I think the average was maybe 2 to 3 claims per Vietnam veteran, if even that. Today, the average is anywhere from 8 to 12
Why is that?
per individual. It's all these deployments, multiple deployments. You ask a veteran, you know, they didn't just do a 1-year hitch and come out. It's multiple. I heard as many as 4 or 5. So their ailments and things are very complex. And when you work it, you just can't go to one primary care provider because it's specialty. It's musculoskeletal requirements. It's mental. It's psychosocial. It's all these different things out there. And each one has to be adjudicated separately.
On its own.
So that does create some time and effort.
Are there any laws on a federal or state level that you would like to see passed that could help any of these problems? Anything you'd like to see from a governmental, legal standpoint? Or are we where we need to be in terms of laws?
I know we're working hard with the VA, as was pointed out by our panel here today, giving them an opportunity with this Choice Act requirements so that they're able to choice cards. Yeah, you know, the VA is allowing a lot of our veterans to be able to go to civilian care providers. It's a great novel first step because they can't get in because of capacity issues. And they're trying to address that by hiring more healthcare providers. And so one of the challenges is just trying to find a civilian care provider that will accept more patients.
And is that because they're maxed out or because the pay level is lower when it's coming from?
I think it's the former. I think there's just so much high demand of civilians with already the existing infrastructure that putting more into the, you know, and so it is quite challenging, and I know they're trying to refine some of the rules to be able to help them more because, you know, without that flexibility, all you have is what you have available. And so they've tried to open up the aperture to get more folks into the mix now. And in some cases it has worked, as was pointed out earlier, but it's just a start.
Yeah.
We think it's still the right direction.
Right.
More can be done. And I think they're looking at the best practices and things, what other folks, I think Secretary McDonald, we mentioned that earlier, is really trying to focus in on what's the best practices out there in all of the healthcare and bring that to the VA.
Right.
You know, make the VA a preeminent structure that it can be. There's no excuse for it not to be.
And improve it.
Especially with their budgets every year. I think State Department always get increases.
Right.
Normally 8 to 10%.
Right. So the budgets are generous. Clay, a question for you. How do you talk to veterans through outreach? What do you do?
Usually, when I meet a veteran, I'm at grassroots level. Yeah, cultural component is the most important thing. You know, constantly when you go out there and talk to veterans, it's you got to talk to them one-on-one. And a veteran will not have a difficult time talking to a non-veteran. They want to talk to somebody that's boots on the ground, and I'm boots on the ground. So when I go out and talk to veterans, you know, I let them know that if you're an NCO, in an audited uniform, you will conduct yourself as such. If you're an officer in an audited uniform, you will conduct yourself as such. And they understand that. They understand that it takes an elite group of people to put on that uniform. Not everybody can.
Maybe this follow-up question is a good one for you. Do Veterans Services play any role in helping disabled vets from or in Micronesia?
Oh, that's a tough one, because I have no resources out in Micronesia and American Samoa, so
They do.
Yes,
We
we
do.
do.
Okay.
The DAV does. We don't go to America Samoa, but they come to our office and we communicate via email, fax.
And Micronesia?
Saipan.
Okay.
We communicate with
Your work
Saipan.
is also there.
Yeah.
From Mike in Hawaii Kai, what is the biggest single delay getting into the system? What is from your experience, the biggest problem getting into the system?
communication.
How so?
I think communication is a problem. You know, not getting the right information that you need to fill up the right application, to talk to the right people.
And why is that so hard? Is it bureaucracy or bureaucracy? I see some nodding heads. Yeah.
I think she answered that.
Definitely bureaucracy.
So that's something that could be improved. Is just simplification.
And the VA is working on that. You know, they're trying to go paperless, and Yeah, and so therein lies, some of the issues. Trying to go paperless, they're trying to make it like a do-it-yourself. Yeah, and so communication is the key. Yeah, and they have to get the information out there. And then some of the veterans are trying to do it themselves, via e-benefits. And then there are glitches. And so then there's a delay, because they have to come to the VA or they have to call. And then they try to call and they're on hold forever.
Right. And of course, if you're dealing with the health implications of your service or perhaps post-traumatic stress, anger, whatever, those sort of things can be a real red button.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And you show me a veteran in the park that has a computer, he might be good to go.
Yeah, right. So for people in a really destitute situation, access to these computers and transportation,
absolutely,
they're going to fall through the cracks.
Yep.
Yeah. This is an interesting question. What is the panel's definition of a veteran? Someone in for 5 years shouldn't get the same benefits as a 20 to 30 veteran. Your take on that? Is everyone who served at the same level of being a veteran, or should there be a distinction at length or, I suppose, difficulty of service?
I can answer that. From the day you raise your hand, from the day that you took that oath, you became a GI, you got an issue. From that day until the day you get out.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. When you get out, you're a veteran.
I agree with Clay. For those who serve in uniform, I know for the federal statute, when the VA looks at what is the requirements, they're very concerned about what was done in Title 10 status. So when you're actually out there in combat or you're serving on active duty, what kind of service-connected injuries? If you serve in any other capacity, there's always questions of whether or not the line of duty was in fact while you were on active duty. So their main concern and their prerequisites because they're a federal agency, they want to compensate federally what you did in federal status versus as a state entity like a National Guardsman or reservist and other statuses. So there is a very, very clear definition when it comes to claims and health benefits.
Have you heard this kind of question before, though? Is that something that some veterans feel is unfair? That certain benefits go to everyone regardless, or is that sort of an unusual complaint?
Well, I think a lot of the veterans think that if you didn't go downrange, you didn't go in country, that maybe you're not deserving of the benefit. But my take is, you put on the uniform, if you got hurt while you're on active duty, you're deserving of that benefit.
You're in it. And I'm sorry, Ms. Egan, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say in regards to educational benefits, I mean, depending on the amount of time you service and how you've actually did your service, and you're seeing like generations of service over here, actually, if you look at it.
At this table.
Yes, actually, in our panel. So, I mean, there's different kinds of benefits that actually, are, that align with the veteran. So for example, like I was a reservist. I use Montgomery GI Bill. I don't get the housing benefits like the post 9/11 GI Bill. I'm just exiting out of the military. I went to Afghanistan kind of soldiers do. So those soldiers get these great benefits, which are very different from what I used when I was in the military. So
there is a scale.
So there is kind of a scale, right? I mean, in regards to what they do are able or receiving,
Situation. Clay, you were referring to sort of the veterans that might be living in a park. What can be done for homeless vets? This is a question that comes up a lot, and that is very tied, unfortunately, to the veterans issue. Is that situation in our state, in Hawaii, getting any better?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'm out of the loop now as far as working with homeless veterans. I've worked for Helping Hands Hawaii. I was a case manager, and that's how I got started in working with homeless veterans, because I found a lot of veterans in the park that wasn't taking advantage of their benefits. So I think the homeless veteran issue is still a great issue. I know we have programs trying to help our homeless veterans. I think we're improving on that, but there's still a lot of veterans out in the bush, especially Vietnam veterans. They don't really want to come out. They don't trust the system. It's all about trust. If you don't trust the system, you're not going to come out. So like guys like me, they go out in the bush and look for these guys. I have a way of talking to these guys to come out, because they deserve this. They deserve to be recognized as veterans. I was told when I was in Alaska, the question was, what is a veteran to you? And the answer was, a veteran to me is the voice of all the veterans that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
And that everyone's. Tonight we're discussing whether we're doing right by Hawaii's veterans. Please call, email, or tweet your questions and comments. Call 973-1000 if you live on Oahu and 800-238-4847 if you're on a neighbor island. As we noted at the top of the show, Insights invited the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to have a representative on the panel, but they declined. I'm going to go ahead and read this statement from Tom, a retired Marine. It's rather lengthy, and then he has a question with it. There is no improvement in speeding up claim processes or wait times from the extra funding that came in. It's the same antiquated VA that has been in place for the past 30 years. I've experienced instances where I've received another vet's claim with their social security number and personal info, and another time where I got another vet's psychiatrist appointment information. There needs to be a board to voice our concerns and grievances who actually have the authority to do anything. And his question is, why doesn't the VA have an appointed board of civilian veterans rather than assigned VA employees to keep the VA accountable? Is such a board an idea that might be worth looking at? Thoughts?
You know, it's interesting. Clay Park and myself, we sit on the State Advisory Board on Veteran Services. And so we have Mr. Wayne Pfeffer. At the time I was Director Tracy Bretz from the Benefits, Department of Labor's there, many other entities. And we do ask very poignant questions about what is happening, what is specifically going to be the fix for long-term issues. As this veteran had pointed out, you know, there are some issues that that really make you it takes you back a little bit about. And so the best thing to do would be to come in and to call us. We are an advocate, peace. And we like to try to go and find out the specifics. We get quite a few calls like that every day. And every one of them is very unique, and they're very, very important because a veteran is struggling because there's no one that's really communicating why it's happening. And so we need to have them come in and help tell us how we can solve their issues. You know, if it means more people get involved, we're happy to do that because we have the infrastructure to do that.
So a civilian board, any thoughts on that? Or I should say a non-VA employee board. Would there be any opposition to that from this panel, or do you think that's an idea that might be worth looking at? Your thoughts, Ms. Egan?
I mean, that's a possibility to definitely look into that idea. I mean, I see nothing wrong with that. But just please know that there is like an online complaint system that does exist that they did create some time ago, and our students have actually used it, and it's held us accountable to what we were doing. So I think that's great. It's a great system. At least it's coming back, you know, cyclical, trying to help fix the system rather than, you know, allowing the system to continue doing its doing.
All right. From Dave in Makakilo, is the panel in favor of a federal law granting visas to Filipino children of veterans at least to visit? Any thoughts on that issue?
I know there's some legislation going on for especially World War II veterans, Filipino, that have served their country, and I know there's some resolutions that have been put out there that they've been trying to get their families reconnected. So in some of our state Hawaii revised statutes, there are clear special categories for Filipino veterans. In some cases, they have started to receive some VA benefits, which is a long time coming. More can be done. And I think this is a good start. So there are opportunities for, as this caller had called in, to see that happen. They just need to talk with their legislators and move that forward. And I think there's some movement going on at the national level.
All right.
And I think it involves our congressional delegation as well.
From Michael and Kailua, do records go missing? Ms. Thomas, do you hear much of that? Yes. Can you tell us about that? What do people report?
Unfortunately, they do. Records do get missing. Records do get mixed up, as that veteran stated. Yeah, you get other people's appointments. You know, no excuses. We're human. You know, and like I said, VA's trying to go paperless. There's so many pieces of paper you wouldn't believe. And so things do get mixed up. Things do get shredded. They get lost. They get put in boxes and mailed to the scanning vendor, and you never see it again.
Is there any answer to that? What is the answer to that?
Yeah, what is the answer to that? That's a good question. What is the answer? You know, that's why they're coming out with electronic filing, you know, doing everything electronically, scan it in from the privacy of your own home. But still, it's still a lot of paper involved, and things get lost.
missing.
Yeah, they get lost.
I like working with hard copies. So for me, you know,
You like a hard copy.
I'd rather have a hard copy. So I tell all our veterans, when you send your application in, make sure you make a copy of that before you send it in, because they can come back and say, we didn't get your application.
Yeah.
No, you got a copy of your application. You can say, sign, date it, and time it right there.
And keep that.
Yeah.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not
This-
stamped, it doesn't mean anything.
Just because what?
If it doesn't get time stamped, then
It's-
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
not
mean
it's not valid.
And these are the things that veterans need to know.
Right.
Yeah, and documentation is the key.
Documentation.
If they don't have the documents, they don't get anything.
All right. And that's really hard when, of course, you're coming back and you've got a lot of things to juggle.
Absolutely.
Right. All right. My brother served in Vietnam and finally tried to apply for PT, post-traumatic stress, benefits and was denied. He has had a rough life with his attitude, divorce, and trying to keep a job down. How to get him reassessed for post-traumatic stress benefits and Agent Orange, from Stephen Karate. How do you go about doing that?
Come into my office.
Okay.
Is he local?
I would assume from the call, it doesn't say, so come into the office.
Come into the DAV office, and we can help him out.
Do you make an appointment? Do you walk in and wait?
Our office, we're located in E-Wing. We're walk-in only. We don't make appointments.
An E-Wing?
E-Wing at Tripler. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yeah.
We're in the E-Wing at Tripler. He'll just come in, and we'll just take a power of attorney. It's a VA Form 2122 that allows us to advocate on his behalf, and we'll just look into his case file and see what we need to do to go about, you know, helping him get that benefit, and also getting him over to the VA hospital to get him assessed, you know, and get him, you know, the mental health help that he may need.
All right, good.
You know, some veterans in that Vietnam era, Clay being one of them, you know, PTSD wasn't even diagnosed until like 1980s. And the war was 64 to 75. And so a lot of them have, they call it bad paper, where they got other than honorable discharges and things. And we have people today going through what they call the PRP, post-traumatic recovery program, up at the VA. It's an 8-9 week inpatient. Vietnam veterans, 1 or 2 out of every class that graduates. And that tells you that caller, you know, we need to do exactly what Savina said, have them reattack. You know, if it happened 3 or 4 years ago, things have changed. When I first came in work in 2011, some of the Agent Orange issues, as you brought up, Malia, there might have only been about 8 or 9 that were service connected, that were tied to Agent Orange. I think we're up to 15 today. So things change, you know, it's not always static. And please come back and test the system and help us to help you.
Because there have been some improvements.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Why can't veterans use internet to file claims? Now, perhaps they can. Is that what you were saying? That
They can.
that's going paperless. So you can. You can get on your computer and you can do it.
Just set up an e-benefits account,
Benefits.
Okay.
and you can file away.
Okay. How long does it take from discharge to get the first benefit?
Like what type of benefit?
So it depends. So what are the quickest benefits to come through from your experience? Which sort of benefits?
Disability benefits or Veterans Health Administration? I mean, if you look at the Veterans Health Administration, you need to fill up the 1010 Easy with a copy of your DD-214, and you send that in, they register you with the Veterans Health Administration. If you're applying for disability benefits, now that's a different story.
Yeah.
Take, for instance, the Agent Orange. Agent Orange is not a disability. What's connected to the Agent Orange is the disability, the diabetes, the cancer. That's what you apply for. When you apply for diabetes, you see it's due to Agent Orange. If you get rated for that diabetes, then because it's due to Agent Orange, you're going to get rated for that. So again, if you go back and look at the Agent Orange, if you register for Agent Orange, that means you've been exposed to Agent Orange. But if you got a disability that's connected to the Agent Orange, that's what you apply for as a disability.
And how long it takes, it varies.
Yeah.
It varies.
Again, they need the documents. So, you know, if you get the documents that say that you were exposed to Agent Orange and you got the diabetes, you're good to go.
Is that part of the problem, that there are no fixed times and you can't promise that something will come through by a certain time? People need to have faith in a sense that it will happen?
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. And patience.
Yeah.
Faith and patience.
What can the community do to help veterans? So outside of VA, I suppose one issue that's gotten a lot of talk is here are all of these many young vets coming back from these recent wars looking for jobs, right? Needing jobs. And would you say that for employers to consider hiring a vet would be one of the main things the community can do?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
In our organization, we have stood up an employment directorate, and so we, DAV, we go out to different job fairs, employment fairs, and let the veterans know that, hey, here we are, you know, and here are the vets, and you know, and vets come with unique differences, and unique situations, but we're loyal, right? We're trustworthy, dependable. We're going to get the job done, but we do have unique situations. But we should hire our veterans, and that's what the DAV is about now. And on our website, there is a drop down, and you can go there and look and see what employers are hiring veterans. Yeah.
Hawaii's, just to add on what Savina said, Hawaii's developed something called H3. It was Department of Labor, vets put it together with the State Workforce Development Program and Employer Support to Guard and Reserve, and Hawaii hires heroes. Just like Savina said, they're at every job fair. They offer resume building. They do wonderful things. They then send from veteran-friendly employers jobs that are available. And exactly what Savina said, they want to hire those dedicated veterans, those loyal veterans. They know they're going to get really talented people out there. And so they send it to our office, the state office, and we employ something called Vets Flash that goes out to about 2,000 addressees and all the veteran service organizations, and they cascade that down to folks out there, probably anywhere from a dozen and a half every single week. And the good part about the employers, that, like you said, the community, they get tax credits. So if you hire a veteran, you can get a $5,000 tax credit. If you hire a disabled veteran, it can be as close to $10,000. And exactly what Savina said, and Leeanne, you're getting the best quality type of worker, employee that you can imagine. If they've been to war and be able to deal with the pressures and the things that are dealing with life and death, you can imagine the kind of employee they're going to be in your company.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a follow-up question for Clay. What does it mean to be rated for Agent Orange? Could you explain that process?
Again, Agent Orange is not a disability. You're not going to get rated for Agent Orange. You're going to get rated for what's connected to the Agent Orange, which is the diabetes, the cancer, the Lou Gehrig's disease. That's what you apply for disability. But if you register with the VA saying that you did get exposed to Agent Orange and you did get the diabetes, then you're good to go. They're going to rate you for that. You know, they're going to rate you 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever's, but you're going to get rated for that. Again, if you have those documents that say you were exposed, you're good to go.
Okay. I'd like to go around the table on this question. I'd like to start with you, Ms. Egan. If you could have 100 new employees for the VA system, where would you put them to make the most difference for veterans?
Oh, that's a biased question though for me.
Everyone will get a shot. Everyone will. Where would you put them?
Wow, that's a really hard question for me to answer because I would love to see more employees coming in to support the college system, because here we just need more support to help guide students and incoming soldiers to figure out how they can actually access their benefits. I think some of the things that we do that really help them out is we have computers, we have kiosks, but to help the people who are training, we would love to get more people trained, even if they were not VA employees, to help figure out how we go about applying for these benefits. And just to talk about what Clay was mentioning, you had asked a question about the rating. So there's this thing called the service-connected rating. So they have to apply for that on that paperless e-benefits. And then they have to go into like Tripler, and then they have to actually get this, there's all these health appointments, there's, you're right, all these things that they go through their records to see a certain percentage.
So rating. How long are we talking about? Are we talking weeks, months?
No, it's months.
It's months.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard even a couple years for some
to get
people
through
to
this
get
process.
Yes, right. And once you get your percentage, then what happens is you can figure out, well, what is my benefits? What are my benefits? What can I be? But so I apologize, but going back to your question, I guess. Honestly, I don't know. I may not be the best person to ask that question. But for me personally, in regards to the colleges, I would love to see more of them coming into the system just to be guides for a lot of our students.
To be standing next to this kiosk, kind of helping to get through.
And just mentors to help guide them through. If you notice, a lot of us are just mentors, knowing the process, guiding them through. Just more of our veterans coming to help to do that would be even more helpful as well.
All right. Clay, where would you put the 100?
I would put it in the mental health side of the house, because of the traumatic brain injury, because of the PTSD. A lot of our veterans are coming out with a lot of mental health issues, and they just can't cope. You look at the women veterans, they have their own issues. The male veterans have their own issues. You got the PRP out at Tripler. For the male veterans, the female veterans get sent to California, for the PRP. I mean, to me, that's unacceptable. For them to be sent away.
PRP.
For the post-traumatic stress disorder.
Rehab recovery program.
And they have to go to the mainland.
Yeah, the women veterans have to go to the mainland.
Why is that?
I can't answer it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because they don't have enough women veterans here to treat them here in-house. They have a lot of male veterans, they can treat them in-house up at Tripler. But my understanding is all our women veterans get sent for the PRP to California.
All right. Where would you put the 100?
I would put half in VHA in the hospital side, and I would put the other half VHA on the hospital in the VA hospital side, and I would put the other half on the benefits side. Of course, my heart is on the benefits side because that's the side I work on, and so I would split it up half and half. We need help and assistance on the medical side. I know that because I use the VA hospital, and it does take a while to get an appointment. When you get your yearly, and they say, I'll see you in a year. Really? And in between time, you go to acute care or the emergency room. Really? So I would put it over there, half over there, and then the other half on the benefits side of the house to try to maneuver the claim system, the claims, to get the claims process quicker and more efficiently.
Where would you put them?
I think, Malia, getting folks to get the healthcare services that they require because of the capacity or the shortfalls is a really good place. Maybe a good percentage of that, maybe 25, 30%. The other piece, 25, 30% would be in the benefits, just like Savina had talked about. But I would also look at trying to put, one of our biggest things is this navigation, education issue. Let's catch them before they come out of the military. Let's go ahead and assess them before they get out. Let's give them the education about post 9/11 Montgomery GI Bill before they get out. So they have all the rules of engagement, and they're not having to worry about navigating on their own through the transition assistance programs and things. So
start the education.
And then develop tiger teams to actually go out into the rural areas and triage people that are out there that need the help. A lot of these calls that may be coming in, we could have triaged those things. Maybe they can't come to us. Well, let's go to them and use some of those numbers to be able to do that. So kind of a mixture, potpourri of things to do.
Yeah, and all fronts. This question might be for you, Ms. Egan. From Stephen on the Big Island, can the GI Bill be extended beyond 10 years?
My understanding, though, the GI Bill, well, I think he's talking about the Montgomery GI Bill, because you have 10 years from the time that you begin to actually use your benefits. But the post 9/11 GI Bill, I understand, is 15 years.
All right, so it is.
So it cannot be extended if he's talking about the Montgomery GI Bill.
That is what it is. All right. From Tom on the Big Island, are employees of the VA still getting bonuses for appointments made on the books, appointments kept, et cetera, like they were 5 years ago?
You know what? We're not the VA. It's hard
So
to
hard to
Tom,
say.
I'm sorry, Tom.
Who knows?
can't
Yes,
answer
and
that.
as we said, we did invite them. All right. Does the VA deserve any praise? And as we were mentioning at the top of this hour, they do, because things have moved in the right direction in the last year. Let's go around and talk about what you've seen in the last year that gives you the most hope about what's happening there.
I think the claims reductions, as far as over 2 years, over a year now, have come down quite a bit. We mentioned about electronic requirements now. It's faster now getting in the system. We're seeing quicker turnarounds on dependent indemnity compensation for surviving spouses. There just seems to be a lot more zeal about getting things done because there's so much focus on it. So.
Energy.
And as well as the health side too. I mean, they're hiring more physicians and more care providers, so capacity issues are opening up wider now. So on both sides, they're really doing, I think, a better job.
Anyone else want to jump in on that?
And I think, you know, having a new secretary, you know, the new secretary, the new director, he's headed in the right direction. That's been a breath of fresh air.
On the federal level?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think there was a lot of improvements on the veterans' health side of the house too, so I'm really pleased with that. We're getting really good service on the veterans' health side of the house.
And in regards to education, I mean, from the time that I went to school, which was like the Montgomery GI Bill, and then now they have like this post 9/11. One of the huge differences, like I said, is that in the Montgomery GI Bill, they just paid just for the tuition. Nowadays, they pay for the tuition and they get a housing. You know,
Which is huge.
Right, which is huge.
Especially in Hawaii.
Exactly. So students can go full time, and you know they can finish on time, and that's very, very helpful for a lot of them. And to add to that, they also have like John Fry scholarships for people who may have passed away, soldiers that passed away. There's just benefits that are still able to be transferred to, you know, their dependents, you know, in those situations. So they're making more opportunities for people to access these kinds of educational benefits. I think is really good.
All right. What is a typical health claim? What is a typical VA benefit claim? I think that question is what do you see most often? Can you address that?
You know, it's interesting. It just depends who's coming. If it's one of the younger, you know, generational folks that just transitioning out, it could be about musculoskeletal issues because they've been carrying an 80-pound rucksack up and down the hills of Afghanistan for 18 months, you know, so they've got some alignment issues they've got to deal with. A lot of folks are coming in with hearing, tinnitus, ringing sensation in their ear because they're next to a high level of artillery, aircraft, you know, mitigation, noise mitigation. It just depends, you know.
A lot of mental health.
A lot of mental health
A lot of
issues as
mental
well.
health, yes.
Absolutely.
I hear a lot of depression,
Yes.
not just PTSD,
Yeah.
but a lot of it's the transition, right? And
Adjustment disorder.
right, a lot of adjustment.
A lot
right.
of adjustment disorders.
But it'd be more helpful. I mean, I think a lot of us try to do it on our own and trying to figure it out, but it'd be great to have more mentorship, you know, more of us veterans coming out forward to help each other. I think that's sort of a nice value that should be coming more forward. You know, we talk about wounded warriors, and there's just us lay veterans that just need to come out there to help out each other. I think it's something that would help out.
Well, that's what
a
we
lot of these
offer.
services, right?
That's what the veteran service organizations offer, and specifically the DAV. And we have chapters locally around the state, and we're also there at Tripler and the E-Wing. And you know, we also do outreach. We go to the Outer Islands every month.
And where do you go and when do you go?
We go to Hilo, Kona, Maui, and sporadically to Kauai.
And how do people find out when you're going to be coming to their islands?
We send, our headquarters sends out what we call mailers. You know, we send out letters to all the veterans on the island to let them know that we're coming. We also reach out to the veteran centers over there, the vet centers, and let them know, hey, we're coming over to do an outreach, to do a briefing, and we get inundated because the veterans, they need the information, they need help. and and we're successful. And then they come to see us here, locally here at Tripler. So.
And does the VA pick up the bill for them flying in for help here on Oahu?
No.
It does not, so they need to fly themselves.
Right, if they come to see a VSO, if they come to see a Veteran Service Organization, yes.
And so that might explain some of the issues for our neighbor island veterans, is that kind of...
Some of the healthcare pieces of it, like Savina, they'll fly them in at the cost for VA.
Will,
but some of the benefits issues is more or less like how Savina said, and they're a lot of veterans are well connected. The Disabled American Veterans have a huge organization, millions nationally, and almost every island they're populated, so they're able to get the word out. And kind of what Clay mentioned earlier, veterans know who other veterans are. And if somebody does really well with a claim and they're able to navigate the system, that person's already talking about 10 other veterans, trying to find out a way to help that individual. And Clay has this Aunties and Uncles program of kapunas that he developed. Some are veterans, some are non-veterans, but because of the local culture, he's able to embrace them by going to a senior kapuna to actually come out and help this individual because of the trust factors that we talked about earlier. And that's been very, very successful. So, but yeah, I see a lot of...
And we have chapters, and we have chapter service officers.
Very
and we
well
have
organized.
Transitional service officers that are at the bases to help the transitioning soldiers and airmen and so on and so forth. And then we have us, the national service officers that are located at Tripler, who file the claims directly through the VA.
All right, and that is what we have in terms of time for tonight. Thank you all. I like how hopeful everyone is about the improvement for veterans in Hawaii. Thank you. Hawaii's prison population has outstripped our capacity to house prisoners in the islands. Currently, about 41% of Hawaii's inmates are incarcerated in mainland prisons. As state officials consider plans to move and expand the Oahu Community Correctional Center, they will also need to consider how Hawaii should house its prisoners in the future. That's next time on Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Malia Mattoch. A hui hou.